the end of the Trump administration, we're not going to go all the way to 2030, but think about 2028. Where do you think the XRP end game is there? By the end of the Trump administration, what is XRP's value and what is the role that Ripple is playing in global economics?
$50,000 per XRP is my guess around the end of Trump's term. And that sounds crazy. I'm fully aware, okay? The means by which that happens is Ripple and what they're doing along with other people. The end game for the XRPL is derivatives. And if you want to quantify the derivatives market, it's currently somewhere between $400 quadrillion or $400 trillion, excuse me, and $4 quadrillion. Like, I don't know if you can count that many zeros, but that's a lot of zeros. And there's only 100 billion XRP, which sounds crazy to say there's only 100 billion XRP. But we won't be all the way through the escrow at that point either. We'll be close, especially if Ripple continues to, only put out 200 to 300 million per month onto the market. They'll be re-escrowing the rest of that on the backside of that. I think that they'll continue to do that, or whoever ends up with the escrow, I think will continue to steward it in that fashion. They'll only put out what's needed in order to be able to maintain price stability for whatever duration they need to before there's another step up in value. But if it is used as a ledger and collateral, so my other prediction is that once we're over 4 digits, the BIS designates XRP as a tier 1 asset, which means it will be able to be used as collateral for derivatives. Currently, that's only gold and US Treasuries. So that's even more demand to lock up XRP and have it used or just sat there as the collateral for the derivatives. And if it's settling the derivatives market at scale, that's a ton of liquidity that's going to have to move through the DEX and the asset to settle all of those trades. And you need that. Right now, banks and institutions can't quantify their exposure. That's why we had 2008 happen. They were over leveraged. And we're there again today. There are plenty of things in the derivatives market where banks are overexposed. And when the liquidity dries up, they're going to be swimming without shorts.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. And as you guys can tell, last night we had our major interview with Jake Claver. Thousands of people showed up. We were really excited about the positive response that we received after the interview as well. Today, we're going to be breaking down some more exciting topics. Now, I've got a couple of highlights from last night that I'm going to take you through. We're going to share some thoughts on that. We've also got a brand new update out of United States banks, as the OCC has just confirmed U.S. banks will be holding crypto, and they're going to be holding a whole lot of crypto because all of the fees that they're going to need to pay, they need to have those on their balance sheet at the start of the year. So we're going to break that down. I've also got a new update in regards to the U.S. Clarity Act. This was really interesting, guys. Last night during the interview, Jake outlined perfectly what he's anticipating for us to reach some of the insane price targets that he's been predicting. And I thought it was funny. You guys could see the look on my face. I've said for a long time, I think by the end of the Trump administration, we might be looking at a $100 XRP. Jake just said $50,000 by 2028. God, do I hope he's correct. That's all I can pretty much say. But we already got 1,500 live listeners. If you're excited and you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You're going to get multiple updates every single day. And a lot of people are living on the hopium that Jake is either going to be proven correct in December or incorrect. And here's what I realized after last night's interview is that Jake's entire thesis is catalyst oriented. That means if we get the Clarity Act, if we see all these things play out in a different manner than he has outlined, that means he's not anticipating a 3-digit XRP. So there's a very big caveat there. Someone said, thank you to Pancho Hernandez, the birthday boy earlier this week. Johnny the McRib is back. So we know what that means. The market will go up. Not only does that mean the market is going to go up, that means Johnny Krypto is going to be hitting the McDonald's drive-thru, my friends. So very excited about that. And we are going to dive into many of the exciting topics that we have prepared. Just wanted to kind of hit the daily movers really quick, because what we're seeing, again, a pullback in the market that starts with Bitcoin. We are looking at an $89,500 Bitcoin. Ethereum is trading at $2,900. XRP, $2.08 this morning. This is going to be very important. Now, I showed you guys the dark pool price targets here are $2.06, $1.90, and $1.56. These are very important ranges our listeners should keep an eye on. Right now, we're looking at that $2.06 range for XRP, guys. So keep that in mind. The big players, they're buying at these prices. They're not scared out of the market. They are sitting here buying these lows and getting ready to onboard crypto products inside the United States. And that's a big topic that we're going to be covering later on in the episode. Now, I wanted to kind of kick off today's show with what I consider to be a great video. Now, this outlines, very similar to Jake, how the narrative around Bitcoin is drastically misunderstood. And what we could see when XRP finally sees this rapid price appreciation moment is a decoupling from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin may be going down and sideways while we're seeing XRP and a few other digital assets move up and to the right. And I think that's what Jake outlined very well during his interview last night, guys. But we did already pass 2,000 listeners. So if you enjoy this content, smash that like button. We got 230 likes on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. Really hope you enjoyed that interview last night. We did 3 shows in a single day. We're always going to do that with our interviews. And I believe Matt Hogan from Bitwise will be joining us on December 1st. We're going to have him on in the morning. So get ready, guys. Bitwise issuing an XRP ETF. We're going to have their CIO joining this channel to talk about what he's anticipating. But let's get started with this really great interview. Now, this man is outlining how Bitcoin, the entire narrative is misunderstood, and he ties it back into Swift and XRP. So you're going to enjoy this. Here it is.
Fiat strategic reserve asset. Why would, Trump, who hated this thing 3 years ago, like it now? Why would Larry Fink, who called it a scam 3 years ago, have a $50 billion ETF in Bitcoin? It's all making sense now. They're looking for a new source of dollar demand. And if you can make the Bitcoin exchange, which the Bitcoin US dollar is the most liquid pair. So if you can make under the Loomis bill, the only way to buy Bitcoin is through US dollars, US stablecoin, that creates demand for Bitcoin, and it creates demand for the US dollar. If you can make those Bitcoin exchanges or crypto exchanges required to hold a certain percentage of US treasuries in reserve, that creates demand for unloved US treasuries. And if you can link Bitcoin to Tether, which is a US Treasury-backed stablecoin, which has more treasuries than Germany does, well, then by blowing up Bitcoin, creating a bubble in Bitcoin, you're creating a bubble, you're creating demand for US treasuries. Now I see why. And that's the great irony. If the Loomis bill passes, they're using Bitcoin, whose entire narrative, as Voorhees said, was to be decentralized, maverick, a-governmental, outside the banking system. The irony is it couldn't be more centralized, more part of the banking system, and less maverick, because now Bitcoin is being used like oil was in the 70s, artificially inflated to pay down U.S. debt and create demand for U.S. dollars. So Bitcoin, the anti-dollar fiat, anti-new fiat, the anti-fiat, anti-dollar maverick crypto is actually being used to help save the U.S. dollar and the U.S. Treasury, not because it's going to be a new source of money in the U.S., a new medium of exchange, a new store of value. It's absolutely being co-opted. And you could argue that it was even invented to do that. Who knows? That's a much longer conversation. That's what the guys of the Black Swan capitalists have looked into brilliantly. They understand crypto and gold brilliantly. They've done the homework. They've looked under the hood of all the IMF reports, all of what Tether has done, all of what Ripple and XRP's protocols have done. I could take hours on it. It's fascinating. But the bottom line is we're creating an artificial bubble and an artificial asset and calling it Bitcoin and calling it maverick and decentralized. It's not. It's not at all.
Is this going to somehow expedite the development or introduction of a CBDC?
Absolutely, because the XRP technology, the digital lever technology, they call it the ISO compliant 200.222 blockchain compatibility protocol, which makes everything interoperable, which allows the tokenization of everything from meme coins to smart contracts to interbank transfers, is all part of that technology created by Ripple in 2001.
Yes.
And when the IMF came out in 2020 with this central bank digital currency, it's all going to be using that technology. So you lose your privacy and your rights. But even the IMF said in 2020, when the central bank digital currency, which is all warm and fuzzy and they ignore all the negatives, that does have a gold component at the very bottom of its chart. The whole thing is still going to be based and backed by a hard asset, gold, not Bitcoin. They're just using the DLT technology, the blockchain technology. By that point, Bitcoin won't be the belle of the ball. It'll just be an asset bubble. But you can plug your nose and go long Bitcoin, especially if this Loomis bill passes. Hell yeah, it's a fat pitch. It's an easy trade. If that Loomis bill passes, Bitcoin really will make a lot of money. We'll see. But it's not the narrative. The narrative is dishonest. It still can be a highly speculation asset, but it is not a store of value. It is not a medium of exchange. It is not a unit of account. It is an intentionally created asset bubble to create demand, ironically, for the very dollar it's supposed to be an anti-dollar asset solution to. So you have to spend some time on it. I'm going to anger half the Bitcoin crowd. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I'm full of speculation. DNA, I think you can plug your nose and go long Bitcoin, especially if this Loomis bill passes. Just be honest about it. It's a speculation asset. It's not a store of value. It's not going to be.
And this is something I completely agree with, guys. Now, here's a couple of reasons that I think this take is valid and worth discussing on our channel. I think our community and the Good Evening Crypto chat specifically understands this better than most crypto investors. The end game here isn't Bitcoin reaching 100,000 or 250,000 or even $1 million. The end game here is the largest financial companies on the planet, including banks and the IMF and the World Economic Forum and everything in between, BlackRock, fiduciaries, financial advisors, everybody coming into the crypto market and figuring out that this is only going to work if it's a decentralized world and we're focused on ISO compliant technologies. Now, I know our live chat has followed this very, very closely, that ISO is being implemented on November 22nd. We are going to start to see this implemented here inside the United States. Now, what does that mean for people who don't understand? It means that banks are upgrading the way they send value. They're moving to a brand new messaging standard known as ISO 20022, and there's only a handful of blockchains, which I've showed you guys before. It's Cardano, it's XRP, it's HBAR, it's Stellar, it's IOTA. It's those projects that are ISO compliant or are capable of moving at the speed that is necessary to facilitate ISO transactions that are going to benefit from this entire narrative. It won't be Ethereum and it won't be Bitcoin. And that's what I think is so valuable about this clip, is that essentially in this example, Bitcoin is the Trojan horse that gets XRP through the gate. And once we're in the quote unquote, the new, I don't even know what you'd call it, the town, through the floodgates, essentially, now we can start focusing on the best products. And what are the best products in the market today? It's HBAR, it's XRP, it's Chainlink for aggregate technology, and it's AVAX for smart contracts, guys. It is not Ethereum. In the end, Ethereum will lose its smart contract and stablecoin dominance. This is a major prediction that I've had since 2023. Before the end of this bull market, meaning probably before the end of next year, we are going to see Ethereum taken down as the leading smart contract and stablecoin provider in the digital asset market. One's in chat if you agree with this take. Two's in chat if you disagree. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the over 210 brand new members we have of the Good Evening Crypto community. Somebody asked us in chat, how many members are we up to? We are officially up to 211 members in the community. Massive thank you and shout out to everybody who's joined. We're very appreciative of the support that we've received here on Good Evening Crypto. K Capone, big thank you for the $4.99. He said, what's up, Abs? Pull up the XRP Kraken price on the 1 minute on TD and see how XRP went to $91.62. I do actually have this prepared for today. So because you brought it up, I'll definitely dive into this. The price of XRP just reached $90. You're hearing this correctly on Kraken. I think they finally flipped the switch. Now, this is something I disagree with. They're preparing the price for the biggest supply shock in history, and it starts with XRP. And we saw another listener, Kevin Cage, comment on this, guys, where he said, we don't see this for any other crypto project, but for some reason, we get these wild candle wicks on XRP, and that's what I'm anticipating to stay. Think about all of the narratives that the XRP community has: the reverse carry trade, the ETFs, the Clarity Act, the banking switch, the glitches on exchanges, the stable coins, the tokenization of assets, the acquisitions that Ripple is making. And somebody commented, who sold at $90? Big mistake, my friend. Listen, man, you don't know much about crypto.
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
Fake news on this, I guess, Wednesday morning. Feels like a Thursday because I did so many shows yesterday. But here's the truth, guys. XRP is the only project that experiences glitches like this on exchanges. And I think it's because of what Jake outlined. There are much bigger forces at play here. Now, when we look at the broader crypto space, it's easy to get caught up in the short-term momentum of the market. Obviously, we're going through a pullback. Bitcoin really determines the price action for this market in the short term. And a lot of people are asking in chat, Abs, do you really believe we're going to see a $100 XRP by the end of the year? Me personally, I do not. I do not believe that. I don't think that we're going to see $100 XRP. Now, again, I'm rooting for Jake to be correct, but I'm going to stick to my original plans that I've outlined. If XRP begins to break out, I've told you 1,000 times, I'll do it 1,001. $4.50, $5.17, $6, $8, and a blow off top, $12. That is my anticipation. That's my perception of this market. Jake has his perspective. He thinks we're going to $100 in December, $1,000 next year, $50,000 in the Trump administration. I have my perspective. I think we're going to $8. I think then by the end of the Trump administration, we're going to be about a $100 asset. And for me personally, that far exceeds my expectations. That would be a generational wealth type of a move. And I don't think that's just me. I think there's thousands of people who watch this show every day who know $100 XRP is life-changing wealth. It changes global economics. It changes the position of the company Ripple as a global superpower. And even during our conversation last night, we brought up the idea of Ripple becoming a super global neobank that is used as a highway to facilitate cross-border payments all around the world. That is the end game. So whatever the value is of XRP at that point is anybody's best guess. I think $100. Jake thinks 50,000. Jake knows a lot more than me. I'm hoping that Jake is correct. That's pretty much all I can say. Big shout out to Chad Keck. 8 days in a row. Now, me and Johnny were actually talking about this guy. How many days are you going to go for, my friend? Shout out to you for the $4.99. Big thank you. Breaking records here on GEC. He said, Abs, we are going to hit $10 to $13 by the end of the year. God bless. Have a good day. Daily donation. See, this guy, you're off the charts. We love and appreciate you. Psychosmos said, and this is Matt. Matt, I saw your text as I was prepping this morning. You have my word. I'll absolutely respond to you later this afternoon. Shout out to Psychosmos below. Love you, Abs. Let's go. Totally agree with your assessment. Stay golden, bro. Now, I want to say, first of all, thank you. Second of all, Matt, if you can provide some interesting insight, I'd love to share that insight on the show. So I'm going to answer your text. We'll be chatting later on today. Big thank you for the $4.99, guys. And for anyone who doesn't know who Psychosmos is, he does some phenomenal astrology work. Everybody should go check him out. I know him on a personal level as well. He's a friend. We spent time together, but this guy does some amazing work that you're not going to find anywhere else in the space. So head on over and check that out, guys. Now, in regard to the Jake interview, there was another really interesting clip where we were talking about BlackRock filing for an XRP ETF. And this is so great because I've brought this theory up several times and Jake really doubled down on it. I wanted to play this clip for us. Then we're going to get into our daily news articles. We do have 3,600 live listeners, 1,400 watching on YouTube. Shout out to you guys, all the new members we have, finding the best community in all of crypto. And that's got nothing to do with me. That's because the great individuals who show up and watch this show every single day. So with that being said, let's play this clip really briefly. A BlackRock XRP ETF, Jake Claver says yes. Why would that be a big difference for you? And do you anticipate they're going to end up filing for an XRP spot ETF?
There's been a couple different instances where both Greg Garlinghouse and Larry Fink have been asked about a BlackRock ETF. Both of them said, I can't talk about that in those interviews. So it tells you there's something, there's a there, an NDA, something in place that they can't discuss on an open public network. So we'll set that aside. 2023, about 2 years ago, almost to the day, 11/14, we had a Delaware filing for an iShares XRP Trust ETF. They have to file a trust in Delaware in order to be able to hold the assets, to be able to accumulate them and support the ETF. Okay. Bloomberg came out and said that was fake, and then it was swept under the rug. We never had BlackRock, we never had Ripple, either one come out and say that that ETF filing was fake, which is very unusual. There has been one or two other ETF filings and that were fake, and immediately both the token and the people that supposedly filed it both came out and said it was fake. So for them, neither one to come out and say that and only Bloomberg report on it, which the reporter that reported that was also at Swell the last 2 years. Very interesting. Eric, he's a good guy. I like Eric. But anyway, so again, just another piece of the puzzle there. Interesting that 2 years ago that would pop up and then the DOJ would investigate and we never heard anything about it. If BlackRock throws their hat in the ring, it is a huge approval and step forward for this asset, like gigantic. I think that you're going to see them and potentially Vanguard. Vanguard actually did not do anything with the Bitcoin ETFs. They actually forbade all of their subsidiaries and anybody that's associated with them from selling any of the Bitcoin ETF products, which was also interesting to me. If you look back, there's some correlations between Ripple and Vanguard and some other things. I don't know if you have that graphic or not, Abs, but that's a good one too. So anyway, they tend to be the cheapest on the fees. They did 25 basis points or 0.25% on the Bitcoin ETF, and they aggregated a ton of Bitcoin. And then they moved all that over to Anchorage from Coinbase because of institutional custody at Anchorage. There you go. There's the Vanguard. I knew you had it. So it'd be interesting to me. I think that those are two other outstanding ETFs that we might see throw their hat in the ring here for XRP. And if we saw inflows from both of those, imagine the institutional demand from all of the counterparties for Vanguard. They have no exposure to crypto. They have none of the other ETFs. And now they have the XRP ETF products that they can allocate to. I think that we would see huge inflows from all of their counterparties as well. That would, again, just exacerbate how much XRP was taken off the market.
So, and we had a great conversation about this last night, guys, where Jake clearly outlined the supply shock situation that we've been talking about on this channel. And what happens here, guys, is that OTC desks only have so many XRP. And even for the bears out there who are like, guys, most of the ETF transactions will be done over the counter. That's not going to directly impact the amount on exchanges. Well, here you can dispel those rumors, because here's what happens. They go to these OTC desks, they buy out the OTCs, and then who's left after that? It is the exchanges. Another important detail is that typically OTC desks will only do transactions of $10 million or more. So that means if, let's say that $218 million worth of XRP is purchased from OTC and exchanges, well, that means $8 million will be purchased. And again, it's all relative, but it takes a very small amount of capital to move the value of XRP. And with Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, Grayscale, Canary Capital, all these different XRP ETF filing coming out at the same time, this is the mass inflection point for a supply shock that we have been waiting for. Now, the most important thing about this is, do all these ETFs hit the market at the same time? Because if we have Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, and Bitwise all going live on the same day, that is going to be a supply shock far outpacing what people are anticipating, who are the bears. People are overly bearish in this market right now. I've been here since 2019, coming up on 7 years in the market in January. And the number one thing I've realized is that retail fatigue is reaching an all-time high. And this is a great comment. Ready Red Does, a member in chat, big shout out to you, my friend. He said, I woke up this morning and said, I'm burned out on crypto. Yet here we both are again. Can't imagine how you feel, Abs. Well, listen, I feel phenomenal. I got to be honest, guys. I went through the bear market in 2022. I remember when the lawsuit was filed against Ripple. It's easy breezy being a crypto investor here. So I'm not burnt out. I'm actually really excited about the future. And the fact that a lot of the catalysts we've been talking about are starting to happen here, this is a major time to be in the space. This is not some boring time. Yeah, it's scary. A lot of newer investors, they're fearful. The veteran investors, we recognize the opportunity. We recognize the fact that retail investors are so scared. They're so pessimistic. They're so fearful. This works in favor of people like myself who know that these assets are built to go up and to the right. And me and Jake can debate all night whether we'll be $10, $100, or $1,000. One thing we definitively agree on is that this price will go up. That I think we all agree on. So shout out to Jake once again. Miss Mulaney 117 in chat said, in 2017, XRP was $3 when I first bought. In 2025, it's $2.09 now. Really $100 by the end of 2025. Now, putting the end of that statement to the sidelines, shout out to Miss Mulaney. Thank you for the comment here. Here's what's valuable about this, guys. Does this seem organic to you? With everything we've seen in the space over the last 8 years, you mean to tell me that the asset XRP is worth less than it was back in 2017? Or does that sound like some inorganic price suppression, nefarious activity right in front of our faces? I lean towards the latter. I think XRP's price is being suppressed. I think there's much bigger things at play. And I tend to agree with what Jake is saying. Do I agree with every single thing Jake says? No, I don't agree with every single thing anyone says, right? Unless we're talking about Jesus Christ, even Donald Trump, disagree with him constantly. So here's the reality. We have disagreements, but we understand that there's major catalysts that he's pointing to. We can specifically wait for and see how they play out. The reverse carry trade, the ETFs, the Clarity Act, all of these things are happening right now. They're no longer speculation, and that's why I'm so excited about this space. Now, again, we are going to go through a major update we got out of the OCC, where they're now allowing banks to hold digital assets. So I'm really excited to break that down for you guys later on the show. But this is Matt Hogan from Bitwise. Our next interview will be this man right here talking about the ETF craze that is on the horizon. Here it is.
in short, the government was shut down, but just because the government can't get its act together and move forward doesn't mean that ETF issuers have to stop what they're doing as well. So because we were far along in the process of developing that ETF, we were able to, effectively go auto-effective after removing a piece of wording in the prospectus. That let us launch despite the government shutdown. It became one of the most successful ETF launches of all time. BSOL is the ticker, as you mentioned, almost $500 million of inflows. And I think it speaks to the incentive and pace of innovation in this ETF crypto ecosystem. There's a huge demand for high quality crypto ETFs. If you can be first to market, investors will respond to that. And we've seen that with Bitwise and BSOL. We saw it last week with Canary with their XRP ETF. There are a few more that are coming down that pipeline. So it was really just not letting the government shut down, slow us down at Bitwise.
And here's what's great, guys. Franklin Templeton is a $1.5 trillion asset manager. Canary Capital only had $200 million in assets under management and was able to bring in $250 million worth of inflows. And like I said, we're going to consistently track the inflows here on this channel. Here's another update in regards to that, because what have we seen thus far? Inflows continue for the XRP token, and the XRP ETF saw a net inflow of $8.3 million just yesterday on November 18th. This brings the total to $276 million in less than one calendar week for XRP. This is one small company with a niche product, and we have nearly $300 million in the first week. Wait until we have these larger companies launching ETF products, guys. They are going to blow these numbers out of the water, and we are going to see companies like Grayscale, Bitwise, Franklin Templeton have over $1 billion in net inflows. That's a huge prediction, and after this launch, I'm willing to stand by that very confidently. Now, we do have a legend. It's not 1970s legend. It is 3 Diglets in chat with the $10. Thank you to you, my friend. XRP hit $90 on Kraken Exchange overnight. Damn, Jake was right. Shout out to 3 Diglets, a legend in chat from the Alex Cobb streams. We all know him. But here's the truth, guys. I mean, we're waiting on that flip of the switch moment, and a lot of people think it will happen with this ISO implementation. I don't typically fall into that framework. I think it's more about supply and demand. I'm not waiting for a flip of the switch here, but here's what I do think is happening. The inflows are turned on. We are watching XRP be absorbed off exchanges, off OTC desks, and be put in the hands of long-term holders. And eventually this is going to work very well in favor for long-term crypto investors. And we're going to show you the data and analytics to kind of break that down. We do have 5,200 live listeners, 1,600 watching on the brand new YouTube channel. If you guys enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and definitely check out the Jake interview if you haven't, that we did last night. I thought it went phenomenal. I thought Jake was a great guest. We do have 530 likes on the program. Shout out to the best community in all of crypto. And here's what Chad Steingraber had to say about the inflows. Bitwise XRP ETF case scenario. So in the first month, we could see about $500 million worth of inflows into XRP. That would equate to about 236 million tokens at the current price. After 5 days, that would be about 60 million XRP. And on day one, we're talking nearly 12 million units. Now, launch day one estimates for Canary Capital, 2x of Canary. We're talking 116 million in total volume and nearly 55 million XRP acquired. These are the numbers that we could be looking at for each individual ETF issuer. That would mean we're seeing Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, Bitwise all add hundreds of millions of XRP into their long-term holdings. And that's something that we all know will increase the price. The more that we see this XRP absorbed off OTC and exchanges, the easier it will be to see a price appreciation moment. And this was a pretty exciting graphic I saw out of the NASDAQ this morning. And I want to give a big thank you to Matt in chat. Shout out to the newlywed and a member for the 589. Jesus is king and loves you all. Amen. Shout out to you, Matt, and to Jesus Christ on this beautiful Wednesday morning. We are 30 minutes into the episode. Feel free to share your comments in chat. I'd love to incorporate them into the show. But this is a big update, guys. The Canary ETF hits Times Square, and you're seeing the graphic on screen. Times Square just lit up with the XRP ETF. We are going mainstream. We are going live. This is happening before our very eyes. And finally, we can take this moment to celebrate. XRP is live on the NASDAQ. Massive moment for the entire industry here. Now, I am going to play one more brief clip because a big thing that came up last night is XRP competing with Swift, or are they working with Swift? Well, here's a really interesting clip. So this is from 2019. It is the Digital Currency Wars, a national security crisis simulation. Former Secretary of Treasury Lawrence Summers discussed how they already have a project to go with Jamie Dimon and 6 of the top financial institutions. This clip is more relevant than ever today. Really does speak for itself. Make sure you stick around for the whole thing. Here it is.
Secretary Summers, does Treasury have the capability and technical know-how to successfully implement a digital dollar?
Let me just say, this is not a Kennedy School exercise for us.
That's right.
We've got a
Thank God.
staff of 40 people who've been working on this for a long time, who have extensive experience with the relevant interconnections.
Okay. So just
First
to
thing-
clarify,
no,
is the answer is yes?
The answer is that the SWIFT system is an interbank system. You cannot meaningfully work on an interbank system without working with the private sector. And I spoke with Jamie Dimon 3 months ago. There's a team of people that he's pulled together from the 6 major financial institutions in the United States, along with a number, Larry Fink, and a number of the asset managers who are working with an interagency team at the Fed, at the Treasury, at the controller of the currency to get this right. Right now, we have one network that doesn't work very well. The worst idea in the world would be to now try to have 2, SWIFT and some other separate cyber project. We have this under control. We've got a public sector led team with the relevant private sector actors that is hardening SWIFT. And a hard SWIFT that will be secure has to be our first priority.
Okay.
We don't need to worry about the dollar. Look, let's be honest here in the situation room. Europe's a museum, Japan's a nursing home, and China's a jail. And we don't need to worry about those currencies being some kind of major threat.
There you have it, guys. Someone said Abs is too lazy to fix the names. Guys, the name display, and shout out to KG, was changed by YouTube. I don't have the option to display the username. It has to be the actual, whatever that's called in chat. I think it's called like a handle or something like that. But I do want to give a big shout out to Mentellect as well for the 589 here. XRP ETF inflows without suppression would equal a double-digit XRP in December. And that's what Jake said as well. Jake said that last night. I asked him, just based on the ETF inflows, where do you think XRP could get to? And he goes, $10 to $12. I stand by that. So thank you for the 589. And shout out to Mentellect, a longtime listener. Lucas Hawkins, also a member in chat. What drove XRP up to $90 on Kraken last night? Guys, if I had to give my best guess here, I would say it's probably a technical glitch. But once again, it goes to show how thin the order books are. And if we ask, some AI, for examples, which I was doing before the show, they said it's almost certainly a technical glitch tied to low liquidity and a thin order book during off-peak hours. These anomalies are common on crypto exchanges when trading volume dips, causing a single mismatch order book or data feed to hiccup and create an artificial price extreme before the system corrects. Now, no other major exchanges reflected the jump, and XRP's global liquidity price stayed firm at the 210 to 220 range with a quick 98% retracement on Kraken itself. So it looks like a technical glitch, guys. It looks like one of these situations. We got a weird volume exchange on the order books, and we just saw a rebalancing occur on global exchanges. It didn't even extend beyond Kraken. And I've seen this a couple of times before, but nobody cashed out anything significant at $90. I guarantee you there probably wasn't any transactions that went through. I can almost guarantee that. If they did, congratulations to that guy. If somebody sold some $90 XRP on Kraken, that person did get to experience nearly $100 XRP in 2025. So shout out to the lucky member out there. We are 35 minutes into the program. We got 6,200 people here. If you enjoyed the content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. And again, the big update I was going to take you guys through is that the OCC just confirmed US banks can now hold crypto. And this is one of the major catalysts that we've been waiting for here in 2025. The OCC just clarified how major US banks can hold crypto to pay network and gas fees. Now, think about this, guys. What is the RLUSD token used for gas fees? That is XRP. So you may have a situation where banks need to custody large amounts of cryptocurrency in order to handle the network fees that are due on Ethereum, on XRP, on Solana, so on and so forth. This is a major step towards a full banking integration with blockchain, and the rails for the XRP era are being laid, at least according to this user. But again, the breaking news is major US regulator has a huge move for crypto. The OCC just clarified how US banks can hold crypto to pay network fees. So think about how far we've come, guys, in just the last year. We now have ETFs, we have banks custodying crypto, we have tokenized assets, we have stable coins live on XRP. There is so much news happening. And here's another news article, ABS from Grayscale. Grayscale XRP ETF Trust is coming. And I've seen that GXRP, Grayscale launching the XRP Trust. That's going to be coming very soon. Another reason that we could see a major move. Someone said a bit of liquidity around 204 to 205 might sweep the longs at that range, then go back up. Now it's perfect because I told you the dark pools, $2.06, looks like a range where they're going to be buying once again. That's just 1 or 2 cents below that ticker symbol. So pretty interesting. Reminder, guys, breaking news right now. Grayscale just announced their ticker symbol will be GXRP on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. Very cool to see this digital asset adoption once again. But we do have 6,500 people here. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I got a phenomenal update coming for you guys at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, where we're going to be talking about some of the things that Jake outlined in his interview last night. And I want to give a special shout out to the over 211 members we have of the Good Evening Crypto community and everybody who threw a donation today. We always appreciate your donations, guys, but we love you all. We appreciate you all. Stay persistent, stay level-headed. This is a short-term issue in a long-term market, and we can all agree number go up is coming for the XRP community. Now, I want to address this very quickly. What happened to the Franklin Templeton ETF? A lot of people said because the S1 filings that this product was scheduled to go live on November 18th. My anticipation is it will go live on November 24th, 20 days after the amended S1 filing. So that's about 5 days from now. If that ends up being a Sunday, it would be the 25th. But that's something to keep in mind, guys. And here we go. Mako Stop in chat said 11/24/2025. I'm at the same time frame there. I think that we see it sometime around that date. Could be the 25th, could be the 26th, but 11/24, that's the definitive date when the S1 is ready to go live inside the United States. So we love you all. We appreciate you all. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button. We'll be back in 23 hours. And like we always say, we'll see you all in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is...
Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
So if you're looking to do the same strategies that we implement here on Good Evening Crypto, I would advise everybody sign up for Merlin and click on the ITrust Capital link below. Now, why did these two ideas play off one another? Merlin is going to allow our listeners to understand where they should be taking profit in this market. And ITrust is going to allow our listeners to take that profit tax-free through an IRA product. Now, that's not the best part about this. We are giving new clients a $100 sign-up bonus using the promo code GEC9. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link below the video, use promo code GEC9, and set yourself up for success during this